Owner said his car got towed in last night to go get the key, so that's where I'm going right now. It's a BMW. And look at this, I'm walking towards the car. What the hell is all of this? Come on now, this is so freaking embarrassing. You know, they tell you it's got an oil leak. It's gonna have to get towed over because it's got a bad oil leak. Nowhere did they freaking mention that all of this crap is on here. So the glass is still here. Looks like the glass just doesn't go up. Took me a while, but I did find the key. It was in the door panel right here. This is what I hate about dealing with people who don't tell you everything about a car. Having cars towed in like this becomes a big issue with me because I can't just leave this sitting on the street. This right here with the bags flapping around, you know what this looks like? It looks like a stolen car or abandoned vehicle. The police will target this car. It'll get ticketed, it'll get towed, and it becomes a headache for me. But no, they don't ever mention that, okay? When they dropped, oh, it's just going over for oil leak, we're gonna drop it off here. Then you find it has, you know, crap like this going on. It's frustrating. It's frustrating on my part. They don't understand, you know, the issues that stuff like this causes me. You have to be upfront with me. It blows my mind, guys. I don't know what's going on here. You know what I mean? Like, if it's supposed to suck in the key. I don't know anything about these damn BMWs. I think the battery's dead on this turd. So I got my jump starter on it, and guys, this thing is not going. I tried underneath the hood, but I know it's not the best place, so I went to the back, went directly to the battery, got my jump starter on it, and it is still not enough to start this engine. Just get a click out the starter and a slight turn sometimes. That's about it. The small jump starter I have, it's not good enough to revive or basically crank over an engine that the battery's dead. The battery has to have some juice in order for it to work, and from what I hear, this car's been sitting for a while, so that battery is definitely dead. The only option I see now is to pull the battery out this thing and put it on a trickle charger overnight, and that's it. We'll just start it up with its own battery instead of trying to use a jump starter. So I got this monster battery out of the BMW. You can see it's a fairly new battery. It says 620 on it. We're currently basically the beginning of 2022. The car's not parked in front of my house. It's about half a block away. So I had to walk carrying my jump starter and this battery for half a block. I'm exhausted. So let me go ahead and put this thing on the trickle charger. So let's go ahead and check the battery. Now this battery is so dead, it doesn't even have enough power to power up this unit right here, which is a battery tester. That's crazy. So when I put my multimeter on it, you can see we're at 3.3 volts. This battery is super dead. So yeah, got the trickle charger out at 1.5 amps. You want something really slow for a battery dead like this. And I don't know, hopefully we could put some juice into it. So I used the clear bag that was here, and I cut and trimmed all the way around it, and I put new packing tape on it. So it's a million times better than how it came in. Now what's funny is when I took the battery out to go charge it in my garage, on the way back I noticed one of my neighbors, basically the guy that lives in this house that the car is parked in front of, he was out here actually looking inside the car. You know, to me that seems really sketchy. I don't know the guy like that. I've never talked to him, but I just know he lives here because I've seen him before. And yeah, so I walk away from a car, you know, that has obviously a window down and bags hanging everywhere, and I come back and I see someone looking into the car. You know, what the hell? This shit makes no sense. He started to walk away before I could get here. But I was hoping he would stick around so I could question him, like, what are you doing? Like, it's not your car. What does it matter if the window's down? Why are you looking in someone else's car? This shit makes no sense. Anyway, the bag's on it. The battery's charging. So I'll come back tomorrow or the next day whenever I get to it and see if we could get this thing moved. It's now the next morning, and I just unplugged the battery. You can see we have 12.4, 12.5 volts. So let's go ahead and pop this bad boy back onto the car. Let's see if it starts. The owner said something about that it may not start because I noticed that none of the windows work, and he also mentioned it to me. That's why the driver's side window is down and it won't go back up. Someone told him a module needs to be replaced for the windows, and that module will apparently stop the vehicle from starting. Well, if the car won't start on the street, then it's a done deal. He's gonna have to tow this car out of here. I'm not working on this car in the middle of the street. So the battery is reconnected. I just noticed that when I closed the door, it sounded like the window was trying to go up and down, or some sort of motor was working. I have no idea, but let's pop the key and see if this thing will start. Start it right up. Let's take it into the garage. Made it to the front of the garage. I'm not going to pull it in. I got the CRX in there, and really it's not necessary. We just need to look at the car. So I'm going to go ahead and put the ramps underneath the front wheels. We'll get it up. We'll remove that belly pan and, well, see what's going on with this oil leak. Just a quick look. The car has been sitting right here in the driveway for about 5 seconds. Look at that oil already. That is a significant leak. I mean, as soon as I got out the car, I came to look and already a puddle. That's crazy. We got the car up on ramps, and you can see there goes our old puddle, and we're already starting a new one right here. So I got the main shield off, but I still can't see much because BMW. So, I mean, I don't know, guys. Just looking at this, I could tell you right now, I'm not going to be able to work on this car. Don't know what's leaking yet, but it just looks like it's already way too involved. What I'm going to do is go ahead and remove this metal plate right here. It might give us a little bit more access so we can see what's going on. So I got the other plate out of the way, and guys, I still can't see much. It has nothing to do with the oil filter housing. You can see that looks pretty good around here. The leak is coming from somewhere up there. And what I could see is, I don't know if you guys can tell, but you see that piece of plastic back there? That looks like it's wet pretty good, so of course the leak is coming from up top. But that's about the only thing I could see. So this is where it's like dripping off of, right here off of the frame or the subframe. So if we look right above it, that would be that plastic I was talking about, and that's about all I can see. So what I'm going to do right now is, I guess, let's start up the engine and see if we could just see the oil pouring out of somewhere. I have no idea. We'll try something. I couldn't see much. I mean, it's just, you know, draining the oil out, but it looks like it's coming right off of the rack and pinion, which I know that's not right. It's got to be coming from somewhere above it, but there just isn't enough space to see above it and see where it's actually coming from. But at first glance, it looks like it's leaking right out of the rack and pinion. Like, say the rack and pinion is cracked, but that's definitely oil. It's not power steering fluid. So I think the next step is, because down there we can't see much anymore, I want to go ahead and remove this box right here. I'm having a hard time trying to get this box out of here. It's kind of loose, but not really. It looks like this thing has to come out. I got this bolt out, but this thing's already stripped. Someone's been in here already. In fact, I talked to the owner last night, and he said he replaced the spark plugs on the car himself. There is a ton of like loose bolts on here. I could see that silver brace going across on that side, which I think is aluminum. The bolts for that were loose also. They are loose. And here's the thing. This one was loose before I even touched it. And when I finally got it out, what is that? You know what I mean? That almost looked like JB Weld. It's freaking crazy. Then he asked me if, you know, because you got to take apart all this stuff, all the plastic from here. I guess there's supposed to be all kinds of stuff here. He said he took all this apart and if I could put it back together for him. Well, that looks like broken plastic. You see all this stuff? All that plastic looks shattered. I don't know what he did to try to get the plastic off, but clearly that stuff is broken. And this bolt right here doesn't want to come out. I hit it with my mid-torque Milwaukee gun. That's like over 600 foot-pounds, and it won't come off, guys. That's crazy. The only option I have here is to grab the high torque at over 1,000 foot-pounds and see if that bolt comes out without breaking anything. I don't like to do that, but you know what? Maybe I'm crazy. Could probably get this out of here. It seems like it's stuck, but maybe if I just keep working at it without touching that bolt. So I did get the air box off of the car, and this is not the piece we were looking at from underneath the car, because all of this looks pretty dry, whereas the plastic I was seeing, I mean, it looked pretty moist to me. So I don't think that's the part we have to keep digging, but there isn't much else I could take off of here. There just isn't space, guys. So I'm just gonna grab my mirror and see if I could see something that's obvious that's leaking down there. Obviously, there's got to be something leaking, right? It's just puking its guts out. So it seems like I hit a dead end from being up top, so I came back down here to look, and guys, I think I found our problem. As you can see, I got my light stuffed up inside of there. You guys see that pipe I'm following with my mirror? like that aluminum pipe. I don't know what it's for, but if we follow it, you can see it turns into just like a regular hose back here. But right there, you see that? The aluminum pipe is touching the top of the rack and pinion, and it has rubbed through. That's why it looks like I can't see anything dripping off the engine, yet it looks like it's pouring right out of the rack and pinion, because that line is rubbing on the top of the rack and pinion and has punctured the aluminum line, and now it's just pouring its guts out. So I just have to find out what that line is, where it goes, what it does, and if I can replace it. Don't know what it's for, but I could see it comes forward right there and goes into some sort of a fitting. It might even come down to these lines right here, because when I move this right here, it's moving the line up top, the one that we have our problem with. Is this a oil cooler? That's the only thing I could think of. The two lines come over, they go under, and they connect right over here, right by the oil filter housing. So those are the two lines that we're gonna have to remove and replace, and see why it's even making contact in the first place, because I'm sure it's not supposed to be like that. I'm sure something has failed, some sort of a retainer clip or something. So I did find a part on a BMW website. It's the oil cooler outlet line that's leaking. The inlet line goes in a different direction and has obviously a different shape to the line, so we need to order the outlet line. It's about $165, so not too bad for the part, and that's what it shipped. Before I go ahead and park this thing back on the street, I want to see if I could remove this door panel and see if this window motor is still good, and maybe we could put power directly to the motor and send the window back up, and we could get rid of this bag and all this nonsense, and it won't draw too much attention from people, you know what I mean? And this is not a repair. It's simply me just trying to get the glass up, number one, to stop someone from easily breaking into the car, and to stop potential water getting inside of here if it were to rain. That's the only reason why I'm trying to get this glass up. As you can see, I got the glass all the way up. Now I did unplug the connector from the motor itself, and as you can see, they don't give you much space. It's a very tight place right there. So I ended up finding like this speaker wire that I had just laying around in my garage, and it already had like these female connector ends on them, and all I did was grab two of them. I know there's 4 wires here, but basically only 2 of them were small like this, and the other 2 pins were slightly larger, so I used 2 large ones. But basically I put my wires on the 2 pins for the power and the ground for the window motor. I put ground on one side using my power probe, and I put power on the other wire, and the window went up. Now if I would have had these mixed around, the only thing that would have happened was the glass would have went down, and not a big issue, just, you know, reverse the polarity and it would have been fine. As far as the connector, which ones did I know was power and ground? Well, if you look at the connector here, there's a few different wires, but all of them are thin gauge wires except for 2. You can see this blue and this blue with a black line, if that's what it is. Anyways, they're the only ones that are thick gauge wires, and I figure if you're gonna send power to this motor, those would be the 2 wires to use. So it's why I tapped into those 2 pins on the motor, and it seemed to work just fine. It was just enough to get the glass up, and that's it. So I put together the air box and got all this stuff reconnected up here. I'm gonna go ahead and park the car in the street until we could get these parts. Now it looks like this battery that I charged overnight is shot, because I've only started the car 3 times since I unplugged it from the charger overnight, and the battery doesn't want to crank the engine over again. So the battery's just done. This is turning into one of those cars. Yeah, now I can't get it out of my driveway because the battery's dead. Try putting my jump starter on it directly in the battery. Jump starter's too weak. I know my jump starter is a piece of crap. Problem is, this car is it's cursed. It's turning into one of those cars. If there's something I hate the most, is a car that I can't freaking move. It just pisses me off, especially when I have other cars to get into the driveway that I have to get done today, and now this piece of crap won't move. So I still can't get it to move. My jump starter is just dead. That thing's a piece of crap to begin with. What I'm going to do is take my battery that I have here that I use for my heater. Let's see if I could fit it onto this car enough to start it up. I want to see if this alternator on this freaking car is even charging, because once I got the engine started, you would think it would stay running if the alternator's doing its job, but nope, shuts right off because the battery's dead. It wouldn't even let me pull out of park. So guys, this is tumbling into something real big if this alternator is bad on it. I don't want to touch this car already. I'm just frustrated. I've got my small spare battery connected. Let's see if it'll start up. That thing hasn't even been charged in a few days, so I have no idea. We got some power. Started right up. Let's go check this thing and see if it's charging. Just checked it with my multimeter. It is not charging. We are at 11 volts. Let me move this car while I can. At least you won't lose your BMW. All you have to do is follow the trail of oil. I got this BMW back in the garage. Overnight, I disconnected my small battery in case something was draining. And this morning I reconnected it, and it was just enough to start up the vehicle, but it was draining it very quickly, so I had to get it into the garage. Right now I got it disconnected again. As you can see, I got my charger on it, and the reason for that is because I need that battery to charge up so I can move it afterwards. Last night the owner actually dropped off the new line. He went to a BMW dealer, and this appears to be the line that's leaking. So hopefully it matches up and it is the correct part. But let's go ahead and see if we could remove the old one. As far as the alternator, I told him about that. I told him it's not charging, so he wasn't really happy about that, but what are you gonna do, you know? So he's going to order a alternator from Rock Auto, and I'll see if I can install it for him. But let's focus on this oil cooler line and see if we could get the old one out before we even touch this one, because if it's wrong, we want to be able to return it. So I'm not going to touch it at all. So I finally got the line off of the car. So disconnecting this end is pretty easy and straightforward. So is this end, but it's trying to snake this thing out of here when there's no space. It was a freaking nightmare. It's like trying to push a triangle through a square hole. Just kind of think of something like that. So anyway, this is our leak, guys. Super hard to tell. Can you see that indentation? That's hard right there. See where it's rubbed through? There's a tiny little pinhole. That is absolutely crazy. And here's the thing. It has all of its mounting locations intact. So why is this thing rubbing? You would think from factory it shouldn't be like that, right? Of course not. Well, the owner just came by. He dropped off oil because obviously we're going to do an oil change. But he forgot it uses 8 quarts. So he went back to the store to get a oil filter and more quarts of oil. And he also brought me a brand new battery that he warranted his old one since it was still relatively new. So we got a brand new battery for it. But while the owner was here, he told me that the car was in an accident. It was hit right here. Okay, think about that. This line, the oil cooler, sits right here. So if this gets pushed back just a little bit, it's going to move where this line sits. I hope all that makes sense. And that's what caused this. It's one of those things where it doesn't really look like any major damage was done to this car, but it's like secondary damage, where it's something long-term that you don't really realize what's going on until a while after the accident, and stuff like this starts to happen. So that's what caused this, guys. He was in a small fender bender. Someone bumped into him, and it caused the lines or the oil cooler just to tweak enough to make that thing rub on the rack and pinion. So for all you naysayers, I decided to just show you guys the leak. So I pinched off that hose over there with some vice grips. We're going to put some compressed air in this side, and I'll just spray the suspected area with some water and soap, which my sprayer isn't working. What the hell? Maybe if I had more water in it. You know what? Who needs a sprayer? We'll just do it old school caveman style. We're going manual, guys. Damn it, I saw it, but it doesn't look like it picked up on camera. I need something better to demonstrate it. Maybe some PB blaster. I don't know, we'll find out. There we go. See the mist coming out of there? Now I have some oil. That's right, we're gonna go through all the chemicals until I could get this on camera. All right, that looks good. The proof is in the pudding, guys. That's it. It's a done deal. I was right. You were wrong. Go kick rocks. The owner dropped off another gallon of oil, and here's the oil filter. So we could go ahead and get the oil change done while it's here after I'm done with this oil line. So I pretty much got this line completely installed. You can see I got it plugged into the existing line right here. That connection is good. I made sure to put oil on all of the O-rings before I slid them on, so that's locked in place. The line goes up the frame here. And guys, this is the best part. On the old one, our rub through was like right here in this area. Look how far we are away from that rack and pinion. It's like more than an inch away. I could fit 2 of my fingers inside of there. So you could see how far off bent the old one was. That is a massive gap. That's nowhere near that rack and pinion like it was before. And as you can see, I got that bracket in place. Yes, all of this was a nightmare to do, but it all got done the right way. If there's a bracket, put it back. So there's that bracket. Everything is bolted down. The line comes alongside here and gets bolted right next to the oil filter housing. So this thing's good to go, guys. What I'm going to do now is let's go ahead and change the oil while we're down here. So I got the oil filter off of this BMW, and look at this O-ring. I don't think it should be this loose. That's absolutely crazy. That would definitely be a oil leak. So let's get this off of here, put the new O-ring on it, see if it fits any better. As you can see, the new O-ring fits nice and snug. It's not loose like the old one. Got the new filter in, and this thing's pretty much set to go back on the car. So this car just keeps messing with me. So the oil filter housing, it's a 86mm plastic housing. I don't have the correct size to fit that. Well, you're probably wondering, how'd you get it off? Well, I just used some regular oil filter pliers, which I know you shouldn't be doing that on these plastic ones, but I was just trying to get the job done and do what I gotta do. And I was just testing the waters. You know, here I am putting the wrench on it and see if it starts to move, then I'll remove it. If it doesn't want to move, then I'll stop and just go get the correct tool. Well, the filter housing started to come off, so I'm like, cool, I can do this. The problem is going back on. You know how those plastic housings, the more you turn them on, the tighter they get. Well, I'm at the very end, right where the gasket's at, and I can't get it to possibly turn anymore. And I don't want to crush the plastic housing using regular pliers, you know what I mean? So I went out to 3 different stores. I went to Advance Auto, O'Reilly's, and I even got in the Zone, guys. Yes, I got in the Zone, AutoZone. And none of those stores have the correct 86mm filter wrench. So, man, stuck between a rock and a hard place here. I already went ahead and ordered the tool on Amazon, but it won't be here till tomorrow. The problem is this truck is sticking halfway out this garage. I have to do something. I can't even just take it off the ramps, push it forward, close the garage, because I got my cousin showing up at like 7 a.m. to do the brakes on his car. This car has to get out the garage. So I got to figure something out. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I need to figure something out to tighten that oil filter housing. So I thought I had another set here, and after some looking, I do have another set. But the thing is, none of these fit either. The closest size is this one right here, and it just doesn't fit. It's just a hair too small. So yeah, that's German cars for you. No matter how many tools you have, you never have the right tool. So I did end up getting it done. I had to use my large pliers here. Of course, I did keep in mind that I'm just wrenching on something that's plastic, so I was very, very careful with this thing. I didn't want to crack it. You know, guys, and you can hit that thumbs down button if you want, but it's not like I didn't try. I went to 3 different stores. Spent a good amount of time, and I even went ahead and bought the part on Amazon already. But, you know, I can't possibly have every tool here in the garage. And especially for German cars that I just don't like working on, and I don't see them here often. So you can't really blame me. Anyway, let's go underneath the truck. And you can see that housing is completely tightened down. It's right up against the aluminum housing, how it's supposed to be. So that's it. It's all torqued down. It is what it is. It's fine. I made sure, okay, like I said, don't crush it. It's just plastic. So I just finished pouring in the new oil. You can see, got the container right there. I already emptied the first one. So this one, we only had to use some of the oil. But yeah, at this point, let's go ahead, reconnect the battery, get this bad boy started, And we might have to check the oil level using a scanner, because on this car I don't think there's anything to check the oil underneath the hood. You have to use a scanner for that, or maybe even something on the dash to tell you what's the oil level. It's just a stupid design. But yeah, keep in mind alternator still doesn't work, so we can't run it for too long. We don't want to kill the new battery. Basically, we want to get it running, and we'll jump underneath the truck and make sure we don't have any major leaks like we had before. All right, so it should start up. What's going on here? Why isn't it starting? What the heck? What's going on here? Oh my god, I don't know what's going on here. Why won't it start? I freaking hate German garbage. Oh. Why me? I'm getting codes in the CAS system. It says engine start, starter operation, output terminal, output terminal. What the hell is going on with this car now? So I got the car back on the ground. I just used my floor jack to lift it off of the ramps. What a freaking nightmare. I still don't know why it won't start. Yeah, I don't know. This just kind of puts a wrench in all of my plans for tomorrow. I may not even do this alternator job, guys. I don't think I want to mess with this car anymore. It's been nothing but bad luck ever since it came in. And yeah. About a half hour later, I pulled out the fuse panel that's in the trunk, and there's no relays in it. It's just fuses. Check the fuse panel underneath the dash. Same thing, just fuses, no relays. I mean, this thing has, okay, so we can't get to a starter relay to energize it and just send power directly to the starter. I may have to try to get underneath the car, and it sucks because I just took it off the freaking ramps, and try to see if I could somehow get to the starter. I don't even know where it's located, and maybe I could send power to the starter solenoid. And as long as I got the key inside the car on, the car should start running. But I have no idea, guys. Don't know what to do. It's getting later. It's already dark outside, and I can't move this thing. I just talked to the owner, and he said, yeah, he had the same issue, and that's why he was I don't know if I mentioned this towards the beginning of the video, but he said something about the reason why the windows don't work is because of a module. And he said sometimes that module prevents the car from starting. I don't know if there's any truth in that. I have no idea, guys. Maybe that could be the issue, who knows. But he said he couldn't, and then I told him, well, I can't even though we get power on the dash, it won't let me put it into neutral so I could push the car forward and close my garage. And he goes, yeah, I had the same issue. I couldn't put it into neutral either. He said he had to get it drug out of his garage. The tow truck literally like pulled it out of his garage. So that's crazy. But I don't know what to do here. These you guys heard me too much about this car. Germans, they know what they're doing, right? So I might have showed you guys that with the scanner we had CAS codes, right? CAS codes. And I guess that has something to do with the security system. And I remember back here when I was checking fuses to make sure I didn't pop a fuse, you know, putting the new battery in, I touched this one relay and it was warm to the touch. You might even say it's hot. And there's no reason why this thing should be hot, because the car's been sitting for hours. It hasn't even started. I've only attempted to start it, and yet this relay is hot. So it's kind of all adding up now. We have, I think that's some sort of immobilizer, okay? The CAS, I think it's like car access or something along those lines. And when I put that in, it seems like the car gets power all the way around, all the lights flash. So this might be our issue, but who knows? Oh, I just heard it. I just wiggled it like that, and it started like you know, when a relay makes very quick contacts like rapidly, it was doing that right now. So that relay, I tried taking it out, put in my relay tester, see if maybe it's having issues, but it's a different design. I mean, it has the same layout, but you can see how thick the pins are. It doesn't fit in here. I can't test this thing, at least not with this tool. I don't know. Anyway, I just got off the phone with the owner, and I told him, hey man, it's getting late. I don't want to be out here all night. There's nothing you can do with this car. So I told him, start calling tow truck companies to see who's willing to come out here right now and take this car to my garage, because I can't leave my garage open all night. So he said he was going to start calling around, and that's shitty because we can't even put it into neutral. I mean, modern cars, right? This thing's gonna have to get dragged onto the bed of the tow truck on all four wheels, because I'm pretty sure this thing's all-wheel drive. So all four wheels locked up, this thing's gonna have to get dragged up there because you can't put it into neutral. What are they thinking when they design these cars? Do they want to make it as difficult as possible for people to do anything? I mean, even something as simple as, putting it in neutral so you can push the car. You can't even do that. I'm not gonna keep ranting about this, guys. It's a lost cause. All I could do now is just sit here in my garage and freeze and wait until something happens. Wait until this guy could get a tow truck, engine start, starter operation. This may be a failed starter, guys. It definitely has the symptoms. It's acting like a starter that, like, the solenoid just isn't working. So it may be getting power, but it just doesn't work. And the guy's like, well, I just had the starter replaced a few months ago. So I went underneath the truck and looked at it, and sure enough, that starter looks brand new. But like anything else, I'm sure that starter also came from AutoZone or any of these other auto parts stores. So I wouldn't put it past it that the starter is bad. This is the code I keep getting. Every time I clear the codes, you try to start the car again, these same exact codes come right back again. All right, so as you can see, I got the jack, and I do have a jack stand underneath the car. I had someone continuously, push the starter button while I go underneath the truck and hit the starter or the solenoid, and nothing. It still didn't crank over. 9 p.m. So we're just moving the car onto the street right here because it's what the owner wants. How do you get a car off of a bed that won't come out of park? Well, we're about to find out the hard way. It's been about a day or two since that BMW got towed out of here. The owner took it to the dealer, and he just gave me a call. Guys, this BMW is forever haunting me. So guess what happened? He took it to the dealer. They got it up on a lift, and they're saying, yes, there's a starter issue, but they could see the signs of somebody tapping on the starter, which is me. So they don't want to warranty out the starter. So I just want to pause the video right here to clarify a few things. Now, a few nights ago when I couldn't get the car out of my garage and they had to tow it out, remember how I said that the starter was replaced? It's what the owner told me, and I assumed it was just like a cheap AutoZone remanufactured one, and I'm like, well, I'm not surprised if it failed. Like anything else, I'm sure that starter also came from AutoZone or any of these other auto parts stores. So I wouldn't put it past it that the starter is bad. Well, it wasn't until after I went tapping on the starter that the owner told me it was the dealer that installed the starter. At that point, I thought to myself, ugh, maybe I shouldn't have gone hitting the starter. Isn't that crazy? I swear, a dealer will try, they would do anything, any little thing to get out of doing a warranty job. And that's where I messed up, guys. There I am, hitting a starter. Granted, I'm not going caveman on it, going crazy, because I know, you know what I mean? You don't got to beat on it like crazy if it's going to start. So I wasn't. Plus, I only had limited space underneath the truck. But the point is, the fact that they could see the little marks of somebody hitting on it, that's enough for them to say, oh, we're not going to warranty this out. So I thought I was done with this car. I don't, the frustration it's killing me. So of course the owner called me and he said, is there a way you could talk to the service guy at the dealer and explain to him? And I'm like, sure, I can if you want, but I don't see what it's going to do when the dealer makes up their mind. I mean, oh, thanks for calling. Yeah, we'll change our mind. We'll spend hundreds of dollars to do this for free. No, that's not going to happen. I'm just trying to stay calm and relax here and not get, frustrated again with this. But it looks like the starter on that car isn't horrible to change. It looks like it's pretty straightforward and not too bad of a job. But here's my problem. Just because the dealer is saying, yeah, there's something wrong with the starter, doesn't mean that car is going to start. I don't know. I don't want to take that chance. So if he brings it over here, I'm going to change the starter on it, but it's not coming in my driveway. I'm going to tell him, tow it, leave it on the street, and I'll change the starter out there on the street. That way, in case the truck doesn't start, even with a brand new starter on it, we're not worried about getting another tow truck to get this thing out of my driveway. So this morning, the owner of the BMW texted me saying if he could bring the truck over to put these panels back on the truck. He said it's up and running. There's no reason to replace the alternator. The dealer ran a test and they fixed, basically, he said they had to replace the starter and a ground wire. So he said the starter is now starting the engine just fine and that the alternator is charging. That makes me wonder, was this starter never bad to begin with? Did we lose a engine ground, a block ground? And that's what caused our no start and our no charging. That's interesting. Because if you think about it, dealer, they don't do anything for free. They will try to get out of anything they can, like we've experienced with this. If they see someone hitting on that starter that they put on, they're going to use any excuse that they possibly can to try to get out of it. So let's just say they put a brand new starter on it, like they agreed to do by the owner. The tech puts a brand new starter on it, but it still doesn't start. So what do they do now? They start looking around, see what's going on here, and they find a bad ground. I just got a really good feeling that that's what happened here. And then they just went ahead and fixed the ground or replaced the ground or whatever the heck. So the owner said there's no reason to replace the alternator. I'm like, great, it's starting. The massive oil leak is fixed. The alternator is now charging. So I said, you know what, bring it back over and we'll get these panels put back on your car. We'll get the air duct tube installed. Send him on his way. This thing will be all set. And that's it. Here goes that oil filter wrench for the BMW. This is a 86 millimeter. You can see how it looks completely different from the tools that I have. That's why they obviously didn't work. But when that truck came back to put those lower panels on the bottom side of the truck, while I was underneath there, I noticed that the oil filter housing, the plastic housing, had a little drip of oil coming off of it. So I'm like, did I not tighten it all the way? So I figured, you know what, I got the tool, let me use it. This thing fit perfectly on that thing. And when I went to tighten it, I actually got like a good quarter of a turn out of that filter housing. So even though it looked like it was tight, it wasn't completely tightened down. So that's going to be it for this BMW video. I'm sure you guys saw and heard all of my frustration, and part of it was my fault. I got myself into a bind. But after this experience, I don't think I want to be working on any more German cars. I think the only things I'm going to be touching from now on is if they need brakes or maybe even oil changes. That's about it, guys. Because it just seems like way too often whenever I work in these German cars, I never say to myself, oh, that went super easy and as expected. No, that's not really the case. And sure, there's going to be little things here and there where, like, say someone has a Mercedes that wants spark plugs, right? And on some of these Mercedes, the spark plugs are like super easy to do. You know, it's stupid to turn down a job like that, right? It's super easy. I'm just talking about the more involved stuff, or try to diagnose my car or see what's going on, what's leaking. No, I don't want to get involved with any of that crazy stuff. If it isn't straightforward, I don't want anything to do with it. And that's just my personal choice. You could think of it like I'm leaving money for the professionals, right? Let them deal with that. I don't want to let the shops make the money off of that. Remember, guys, not all money is good money. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the video right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.